somebody. I gotta fix this. It's on me. I gotta fix this. Something happened on my Mac. I don't know why when somebody calls my phone, I mean it's synced to my Mac and my phone. But I guess if I'm live and somebody calls my phone or like FaceTime me or something, it just messes up the whole stream. So I got to figure out how to fix that. That's very terrible. I was in a rhythm. I was getting back in the flow of things. Hate that. Sorry about that. Like, you be calling me. I ran aside. But Stefan Gilmore, like I was saying, picking up from where it was before, he still has New England Patriots stuff up there. So as of right now, he's New England Patriot. He hasn't really said nothing. He's been kind of quiet. He's really a quiet guy. He doesn't see something that he's going to try to pull, like somebody like not saying Deshaun Watson was bad, like Deshaun Watson, James Harden, stuff like that, where they're trying to force their way out. I think that his contract is coming up after this year. He's basically due $7 million in base salary. All his money guaranteed is wiped away. And there hasn't been no talks with contract extension. I've said this all season long. Still got the Gilmore jersey, but I said this all season long. His time in New England is coming to an end. It's just how it's going to go. He's 30 years old. I still think that he's one of the best corners in the game. You can argue if he is the best corner. Some people may say he is. Some people say he may not because of how this past season was, with his injury at the end. And then, he also caught COVID as well. So, you can make the argument that he is, he's not, but you got to know he's definitely one of the best corners in the NFL right now. So, with that being said, if he leaves next year, if he plays this year with us and then leaves next year, signs with a different team, I believe we get a third-round comp pick for that. We get a third-round comp pick. We get a comp pick for him. I think the trade that has to happen, it has to be at least a second-round pick. Even if it's to a contender, it has to be a second-round pick. And if you're a contender, for 1 year, especially in this COVID cap-stricken year, for 1 year, you don't need a top 3 corner in the NFL. You don't need a guy who can shut down somebody. Yes, I know he's coming off an injury. So teams that's been rumored to sign Gilmore or trade for Gilmore, I should say. The Packers are a team that may need a corner. You saw having the NFC Championship. Kevin King was getting roasted. But they play more of a cover 3, kind of a zone type thing. I think they was playing a little bit man covers, but it was kind of like a zone type deal. Gilmore is a man coverage corner. I mean, he can play zone. He can do it all, but he's typically a man coverage corner. And in your opinion, how do you think our offense and defense will look in 2021? Especially which players will actually track to England? I'm about to get to that after I talk about Gilmore, and this one of the things that we're going to get to the free agency part right there. But I got your question, though. Appreciate that, though, Ace. Stefan Gilmore, I think another team looking at him, Arizona Cardinals. They're Patrick Peterson, he's a free agent. He's around the same age as Gilmore, but he's been injured. He's a little bit older and stuff like that. They just signed J.J. Watt, so maybe they go out, Gilmore, who is a better corner, they bring him over for a year or so, try to get him, because again, they're not paying Kyler Murray. He's still on a rookie deal. They're paying DeAndre Hopkins. They gave J.J. Watt money. Maybe they're trying to shore up that defense. You still got Isaiah Simmons if they know how to use him right. So maybe they bring Gilmore over, and maybe they do bring Pat Pete on a cheap deal, and they say, look, we're going to have Gilmore, we're going to have Pat Pete. I think they still have Byron Murphy Jr., who's not a bad corner, and they say, look, let's rock out with that. Another team rumor, the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield contract, I think is coming up soon. So maybe they bring him for 1 year as a mercenary type deal. Say, look, we got this 1 year. We got Nick Chubb on offense. We might not have OBJ. Hey, I'll take a Gilmore for OBJ for our Browns. That's just my preference. You know what I'm saying? Hey, my preference. I just get rid of Gilmore for picks. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. A part of me wants to keep Gilmore, but I know we're not a championship winning team, so might as well go get a second round pick. But I think we only should trade him if we can get a second round pick. If a team's going to give us a third round pick, then just keep him, because we're going to get a third round pick the next year. So just keep him. And unless he wants to actually go to that team for that 1 year, and then you go ahead and do right by Gilmore because he helped us win the Super Bowl and he's been a class personified. But yeah, I think he's going to get traded for picks. Arizona, Green Bay, Cleveland, those are some of the rumored teams. Carolina's a rumored team, which if they want to give us a second round pick, I take that in a heartbeat over any of the other teams. I don't mean to send Gilmore to poverty over there in Carolina. They have a little bit of a nucleus. I don't want to send Gilmore over to a team like that. You want to send it to a team where he can still win and stuff like that. But hey, Panthers offers a second round pick, taking that any day of the week. Sorry, Gilmore. So yeah, that's with the Stefan Gilmore stuff. Jason Lockeform, he pretty much has reported that it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to get traded. And it probably will happen on draft day. Maybe it's a draft day trade. Be on the lookout for that. Patriots need to get Devonta Smith and a linebacker, then draft a second-round tight end and pass rusher. Devonta Smith, I would love Devonta Smith, but we picked number 15. We're going to have to trade him a lot for him, and I don't see Bill Belichick doing that. And he's not falling to 15. New linebacker, yes, we definitely need a linebacker. And then draft a second-round tight end and pass rusher. I like that. Potentially, well, Kyle Pitts ain't going to fall to number 15. But if he does fall to number 15, you might got to take that. But we'll talk about that later. I'll do a draft episode later. Last thing before we go to the extra free agency porch is to give my man's ace question. N'Keal Harry, we drafted him in the first round 2 years ago. Hasn't worked out. He was hurt the first 8 games he was in his rookie year, came back, showed a flash or two in a moment in the drive or so. Didn't look too good. So then this year, he comes in, he had Jared Stidham the whole offseason, and then he got Cam Newton, and him and Cam just never clicked. It's just not working out with N'Keal Harry. And then when you look at the wide receiver draft class, A.J. Brown for the Titans is killing. Debo Samuel for the 49ers is doing good. DK Metcalf for the Seahawks, he's doing good. Terry McLaurin for the Washington football team is killing it. Like, you look at the wide receivers that we took over N'Keal Harry and just like, damn, we dropped the ball. So potential rumors that he can get traded, probably be like a 3rd-round pick or something like that. With Jacoby Myers, Gunner, Julian Edelman coming back too. Probably, I think he has 1 more year left on his deal. I honestly just think that, just trade him for a 3rd-round pick or not. Maybe you want to keep him around and try to give him a chance and stuff, but his name has circled around the rumor circle. Hopefully N'Keal Harry can step up, but he's not the receiver that we thought he would be. That's one of the reasons why we drafted him, to try to keep Tom Brady, and it just didn't work out. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's see. It says, Kadarius Toney, Micah Parsons, or Mac Jones. One of those should be our pick. What you thinking? At 15, you probably take Mac Jones. If we're not trying to go, let's say for instance, this is we don't trade up and this is the 15 pick. You probably take Mac Jones. Micah Parsons. I like Micah Parsons. That's not a bad pick. The linebacker, but because he went to Penn State and everything. Good linebacker. But I think you go quarterback. I think you go Mac Jones, because the quarterback is just the most important position. You can always do that. And also, we typically do good drafting linebackers, even though, our linebackers the past year or so that we drafted ain't looking good. But typically, Belichick drafts good linebackers. But I probably go Mac Jones. That pick. But let's go ahead and answer my man's ace question. The real important part we hear in this video: free agency. So, going down the list of free agents right now, our top free agents is Joe Thuney, David Andrews. It was Cam Newton too, but we already talked about it earlier in the stream that was recorded before this. Somebody called me, messed up the whole stream, so I'll fix that for later streams. But Joe Thuney is at top of the list. Now, we franchise tagged him last year, and I said we franchise tagged him last year. It probably means he's not going to come back. I think I would say he's a top guard on the market right now. One of the top 3 guard in the NFL, top 5 guard in the NFL. David Andrews, no slouch either, a very good center too. Top 10 at least center in the NFL. Joe Thuney, he should be part of number 1. With us getting Trent Brown, with us having the our 2 offensive linemen from last year, David Anawanyu and Isaiah Wynn. Having those 3 tackles there, those 3 offensive linemen, you get Thuney, David Andrews, like I said in the stream before, you have a great offensive line, and Damian Harris is going to run crazy. You got Cam Newton protected a little bit too. I think we should re-sign Joe Thuney. Now, I don't know how much money it's going to cost us. It's probably going to be about a $14 to $15 million deal in terms of per year stuff. So we'll see how that works out, but I think that we should get him. But looking at our cap space, we have the 3rd most cap in the NFL right now. At $63 million, if I'm reading this correctly, but we have the 3rd most cap that we can use. So, if we use Joe Thuney, that's pretty much going to use a little bit less than a 3rd, at least a 4th of our cap. If we go ahead and sign Joe Thuney, we have Jason McCourty. I think he'll sign for a cheap. I think we get him on a cheap deal, unless he wants to go to a contender. But I think that him playing with Devin, with his twin brother, I think he loved it. But again, he already got his ring. They had that moment for for about 2-3 years. So maybe he wants to go ahead and go somewhere else. But I feel like we can bring him back for another year or so, and maybe him and Devin McCourty go out together. They're twins. They're really close. This is what they wanted to do. They go ahead and retire together. So maybe we can get him back. But if we bring him back, it's definitely going to be cheap. J.C. Jackson. That is priority number 2, but I'm not so worried about him because he's a restricted free agent. So we're going to match any offer that somebody throws out there, unless it's something crazy. And I believe we have a first-round tender on him, if I'm not mistaken, similar to the Malcolm Butler situation, if you don't remember years ago, where we put a first-round tender on Malcolm Butler, basically saying, like, look, if you want this guy, you're going to have to offer him this contract. We have an opportunity to match that contract. If we don't match that contract, you're going to have to pay him the money and give us your first-round pick. I don't see nobody doing that for J.C. Jackson. Those tenders is more so, it's like the franchise tag, but not really like the franchise tag. It's basically, we can sign him for I think a $5 million deal, something like that. And if a team wants to really pay him, they're going to give us a first round pick too. And teams typically don't do that. Like I rarely see a team, sign someone on the first round tender. So J.C. Jackson, I think he'll be back. Looking at the other positions, James White. Running back, pass catching wide receiver, pass catching running back. Didn't really get a lot of touches, with the offense being stagnant. We couldn't really throw the football like that. He really wasn't involved that much. So maybe he decides to go and leave somewhere else. I think that we should potentially sign him back. Looking at everybody else, Adam Butler, I think we should sign him back. He shows sparks. Lawrence Guy, I think we can let him walk. John Simon, we can let him walk. Rex Burkhead. If we can get Rex Burkhead back for like a couple $1 million, I'll take him back. Looking at everybody else though, Nick Folk, I mean, he's a kicker. It is what it is. Deatrich Wise, he showed flashes, so maybe we sign him back on like a 1-year proven deal. He did show a little bit of flashes. Chase Winovich was obviously the best pass rusher that we had. We haven't really had a pass rusher, but maybe we do a little something, but. Looking at the rest of the list, though, everybody else can go. Terrence Brooks, the safety, he's not coming back. Looking at some Damian Burr, he may come back. Him and Cam Newton have a little bit of rapport from Carolina from back in the day. But other than that, though, Dante Moncrief, we could potentially bring him back for cheap, but that's like a late signing. Jakob Johnson, the fullback, I bring him back. He was pretty decent for us, pretty good. But other than that, though, I think that would do it for our free agents. Now let's go ahead and look at the free agents that we have in the rest of the NFL. So go ahead. We're not going to look at quarterbacks because we signed Cam Newton. So all the quarterback stuff that's done. We're not going to look at the quarterbacks. We can go ahead and look at the running backs right now. You have Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley, but again, I don't see us signing a running back really like that, except for James White. A guy that we could potentially get though for the cheap that I would like, Devonta Freeman. I think if we can get Devonta Freeman on the cheap, I think that would be a pretty good running back. But again, we already have Damian Harris. So maybe if we get Devonta Freeman, somebody real cheap, that would be not too bad. But the biggest issue I think we have to sign, let's go ahead and wipe it away. Wide receivers. Look at the wide receivers right now. AJ Green is free agent. Allen Robinson, he just got franchise tag. T.Y. Hilton's a free agent. T.Y. Hill's a free agent. Golden Tate's a free agent. Adam Humphries. Remember, we tried to sign Adam Humphries like 3 years ago, and we signed him more money. He went to the Titans. Yeah, I don't want him no more. Deshaun Jackson, Sammy Watkins, Emmanuel Sanders, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola's a free agent, but he's not coming back after what he said, though. Will Fuller's a free agent. He's still suspended for those games. Antonio Brown, he's not coming back. But but yeah, these are some of the free agents and stuff that you see. Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent. So these are some of the free agents that's available right now. Kenny Golladay, that's the big name. D.D. Westbrook, that's another name right there. So we're just looking down the list for receivers that I think we can get. I don't think Bill Belichick, he's not going to go get AJ Green. I think AJ Green is going to stay in Cincinnati or go to a winning team. T.Y. Hilton probably go back to Indianapolis. I don't see him leaving. I think a guy that we could potentially get, and it's really up to him. And if we get him, we're going to have to pay top dollar because we're not a serious Super Bowl contender. Maybe he goes somewhere else. But I think an Emmanuel Sanders, because I wish we had Emmanuel Sanders potentially, and then he went to Denver. Bro, I want Emmanuel Sanders so bad for like the past year or so. I wanted Emmanuel Sanders so bad. Very great, very good route runner. He's just a solid receiver. He's not that not that Julio, not that DeAndre Hopkins, but he kind of reminds me like a Robert Woods-esque receiver. Somebody who's just reliable. He gets you 1,000 yards consistently. Can run the routes. Emmanuel Sanders, I like him. I like an Emmanuel Sanders deal. Kenny Golladay. Now that is a sleeper because if we do get Kenny Golladay, he's probably the top free agent wide receiver in terms of money wise. He's going to demand a lot of money. Do we want to risk it? Sign a 3-year, 4-year deal for Kenny Golladay? I don't know. But if we can get Kenny Golladay for less than I said 7. If we can get it for $7 million, that'd be good. If we can get it for less than $11-12 million, I'd take that. Same thing Will Fuller. I think Will Fuller, we can get it for $10 million. Now, again, he's going to be suspended for some games because of the whole PED situation. Remember, we have Julian Edelman coming back. Although he's no spring chicken, he's not the same Julian Edelman from years ago, but he's still somewhat decent. But I think we can get Emmanuel Sanders or we can get Kenny Golladay with Julian Edelman, with Jacoby Myers. That can at least give Cam Newton some type of targets. At least you can get guys who can run a little bit of routes. Julian Edelman doesn't get open as much as he did before, even before he got injured last year, but he can still get a little open. I think Emmanuel Sanders still has a little bit in the tank. He showed a little bit with the Saints last year. And then I believe if you get a Will Fuller who looked pretty good with the Texans, I don't know if it was the juicing or not, but I think Will Fuller can be that guy, that deep threat, go deep and go get it. So I would say try to get Will Fuller or Emmanuel Sanders. I would say Will Fuller just because he's a little bit younger, but you probably gonna have to pay him more. But Will Fuller, Emmanuel Sanders, that'll be the receivers that we go out and get. Now this right here, this might be the biggest. This right here I might be the most excited for. The tight ends. Hunter Henry's available. Kyle Rudolph's available. Jared Cook's available. You got Jacob Hollister. I love Jacob Hollister. You've followed the channel for a while. I want us to keep Jacob Hollister from the Seahawks. Jonnu Smith is available. If I'm the Patriots, I'm going for Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith is a dog. He can block a little bit. He's fast, can run the routes. I'm going for Jonnu Smith. He very young tight end too. I didn't realize. I thought Jonnu was like a little. I didn't realize how young he was. Hunter Henry, he's coming off of injury. He's been injury riddled. I wouldn't be opposed to Hunter Henry because he's pretty good when he was healthy, but it's just that health concerning issue. I think Jonnu Smith played with Mike Vrabel. They ran the football a lot with Derrick Henry, so he knows how to block. We're going to run the football a lot with Damian Harris. I think it fits perfectly with us, and it gives Cam Newton that good security blanket. Kyle Rudolph, honestly, that's probably the guy that we'll end up getting, a little bit older. We can get it for probably like $5 million on the cheap, who's still not a bad tight end, pretty decent, but I would like a Jonnu Smith. I would like Jonnu Smith to come to New England. We're probably going to have to probably pay a little premium for him, a little bit younger and stuff like that. But I think Jonnu Smith will be the perfect tight end for us because what he did in Tennessee, I think he can carry that over and do the same thing for New England because this isn't the same Patriot team that that you're used to seeing. We're throwing 4,000, 5,000 yards, in a season. We're going to be a run-first team. Cam Newton, that little intermediate stuff. You saw what he did when he had Greg Olsen in Carolina. He had a security blanket. That's all he was going to. And look at the tight ends that we have this year, the past year or so. Yeah, it ain't been looking good. So we get Jonnu Smith. I think that to me, outside of the splash names and all that stuff, I think for our team, Jonnu Smith is the best available free agent for us. That's not on our team. I think Joe Thuney's number 1, J.C. Jackson number 2, and then you put Jonnu Smith right there. If we get Jonnu Smith, yeah, it's going to be good. Now look at the offensive lineman because we just need to keep our own. But I will go ahead and look at some left guards. If we don't get Joe Thuney back, I think a potential guy we can get is Cameron Irvin. Bring him back to New England. He knows the system a little bit. I think Cameron Irvin probably come back on a cheap deal. Let's see who else is out there. Yeah, that's pretty much who I really see out there that I would like. If we can't get Joe Thuney back, bring back Cameron Irvin, who was decent, wasn't the best. Centers, there are a lot of centers out there that we could potentially get, but I think David Andrews because Pouncey, he's a free agent. Alex Mack, who's decent, he's a free agent. Corey Lindsey, he's a free agent. So I think with those guys who probably might get paid more than David Andrews, maybe we can bring him back for the cheap. But I think David Andrews and Joe Thuney should be back. Now, go ahead. Let's look at the edge rushers, man. Matthew Judon. Do not sign Matthew Judon. Shout out to my boy Jay Ham. Matthew Judon, don't do it. No. Melvin Ingram, no. Don't do that. Bud Dupree, don't do that. Shaq Barrett, we don't got no. Some edge rushers that I can see is actually getting though. Potentially Calvin. Calvin Noy's not coming back. It's not really much out there for a defensive end. Maybe Adrian Claiborne. I remember I wanted Adrian Claiborne when he came up the draft. Maybe we go ahead and get Adrian Claiborne. Everson Griffin, that's another potential name. Solomon Thomas, who's very young. We're going to have to pay a premium for him, but I think we can get Solomon Thomas if we're trying to pay money. That would be decent. Adrian Claiborne. I think Adrian Claiborne probably is the move. Excuse me. And then maybe you go ahead and maybe you get Alden Smith. Maybe you go ahead and get an Alden Smith. He looked decent for the Cowboys in the first part. I think the second part of the season, especially with the injuries and the way the season was going, and then also too, he hasn't played in 3-4 years, so I think that conditioning kind of wore him down. But if Alden Smith is on it, I would like Alden Smith in New England. That's the type of player that New England, typically gets guys who might have been written off or had baggage and stuff like that. We forget all that. Come to New England, we'll get you taken care of. So I think Alden Smith, Adrian Claiborne. I think those are two names that I think we should get for ends. Hey, shout out to my boy Taz right here. You just missed it, Taz. We're going through free agency, talking about who the Patriots should get, and we passed the tight ends, and I said the perfect tight end for the Patriots is your boy Jonnu Smith because of what y'all did in Tennessee, running the football, being that security blanket for Ryan Tannehill. He can do the same thing with Cam Newton because we're going to be a run-first team with Damian Harris, and I feel like you saw what Cam Newton did when he had Greg Olsen in Carolina. Having that security blanket is so key. And so I think what he did in Tennessee can parlay that to New England. And Mike Vrabel, and Belichick, somewhat similar, even though Mike Vrabel's a little bit more fun. I know you hate that. Shout out to my boy Taz, though. He killing it over there on the Twitch. Moving on to linebackers. Now, we talked about we need some linebackers, need to draft some. There are a lot of good linebackers out here that we can potentially get. Quan Alexander just got, released, but that's a premium right there that we're going to have to pay. KJ Wright, he's a pretty good linebacker. But if I'm looking at linebackers that I think we should potentially get, I think Grugier Hill, I should say. I think he's a pretty decent linebacker. He kind of plays a little bit of that 3-4. I think he can blend in with us. Landon Roberts went to the Dolphins. I don't see him coming back. I think he may stay over there in Miami with Brian Flores. Will Compton, a guy from the Tennessee Titans. I think he can come in and help us out a little bit. Dion Buchanan, he was on the Buccaneers practice squad at the end of the season. Maybe we bring him back because, we have Kyle Duggar, who's that safety linebacker breed, trying to guard the tight ends and everything. Maybe we bring him in to kind of teach him the ways with Dion Buchanan. That wouldn't be a bad pickup. Other than that, though, it's not really too many linebackers that's really catching my eye. But yeah, that's all. I'll probably say, I'll probably say Grugier Hill. I'll say Grugier Hill. All right, going on to safeties. Safeties is cool. We have some pieces there, so I don't see us really going after safeties now. Cornerbacks in free agency. Malcolm Butler, he's not coming back. We have AJ Bouye available. Patrick Peterson's available. Justin Coleman, who was a Patriot, he's available. Robert Alford, it'd be amazing if he were to come back and he's comes with us. He's a man coverage corner too. So I can see us getting a Robert Alford too. Another guy who we can potentially get who didn't get franchise tag that I think would be pretty good. Shakeem Griffin, not the linebacker. I'm talking about the cornerback, his twin brother, not the one with the one arm, but the other guy. I think having Shakeem Griffin coming to New England, I think that's a good corner. Having opposite of J.C. Jackson, they kind of play a little bit similar style. And Seattle, they do play a little bit more zone, but I think you can zone them up. J.C. Jackson, he's getting a little bit better in man coverage. And if we're going to trade Stefan Gilmore, I'm projected. You're not going to have a guy where you can say, all right, this guy's going to shut him down. Maybe you shade more coverage. So now you're playing a little bit more zone instead of man coverage like how we're used to playing over the past few years. So maybe J.C. Jackson plays a little bit more zone, or you man him up on one side and you just zone the other side. So I think having Shakeem Griffin, I think that's a good corner that we should get. And yeah, so again, like I said, we have 66 something in cap. He said, J.I. Rondo said, J.I. Nah, I ain't say that. I ain't said it need to fix next year. It's not my guys. Nah, we ain't gonna take your guys. Hey, give us A.J. Brown. We'll give you Stefan Gilmore. We'll throw in a third round pick with Gilmore. We'll throw in a third round pick for Gilmore, but give us A.J. Brown. All right, we back. I don't know what that was. yeah, give us a third round. Give us AJ Brown, Gilmore, a third round pick. We got y'all. But yeah. So that's pretty much going through the free agents. That's what I see. I will say the top guys that we need to sign in total free agency, including our guys, is Joe Thuney. He should be number one on our list. J.C. Jackson, but I'm not really too worried about him because he's restricted. Jonnu Smith, I have him third. And then after that, I think that who was the guy that I said? It was Jonnu third, and then it was Kruger Hill. I think he should be the fourth guy because I feel like we get him at linebacker, we can do pretty well. And then actually, no, not Kruger Hill. I'm sorry, I'm tripping. He's number 5. And either Emmanuel Sanders or Will Fuller. Emmanuel Sanders or Will Fuller at number 4. We got to get a wide receiver. We better get a wide receiver in free agency. I don't want the draft. You can draft the receiver. I don't care. But no, we better get Kenny Golladay. I don't care how much we got to pay. We better get him. Will Fuller. I don't get decent money. Not too much. Emmanuel Sanders. We better get a wide receiver in free agency. I don't want the draft. I don't want to see about N'Keal Harry. Maybe we'll develop him. No, we better get a surefire wide receiver. Because let's say we do keep N'Keal Harry, try to develop him a little bit further. You'll have N'Keal Harry, potentially can be something. Jacoby Myers, who's proven to me, Jacoby Myers is playing better than N'Keal Harry last year. Jacoby Myers was probably the best receiver last year. So you have Jacoby Myers, Julian Edelman, a little bit older, again, like I said before. N'Keal Harry, and then you have one of those receivers that you go ahead and get free agency, Emmanuel Sanders, Kenny Golladay, or Will Fuller. Probably Will Fuller just because he's a little younger. You have those receivers. You add in Jonnu Smith. I'm not saying the wide receiver core is top notch and they're great. They're not the Rams, they're not these, the Falcons and stuff like that. But that's a decent wide receiver core for Cam Newton. Cam Newton's never really had that. I think the best receiver Cam Newton had was Steve Smith. An older Steve Smith, he was still a dog though, but he only had him for I think like a year or so. His best weapon that he's probably had is Steve Smith and Greg Olsen. He hasn't really had weapons like that. So you put N'Keal Harry, who can potentially be good because I think him and Cam Newton like each other too. Jacoby Myers, Julian Edelman, and you get one of these receivers in the free agency, and then you get Jonnu Smith. That is a decent receiving core that you can work with. That you're not a pass first. Again, we're not a pass first team, so you're working with that as a run first option. I think that is a good enough offense where you can that's not me saying Jonnu. That's a good enough offense where you can win some games. That's a good enough offense where you can get to the playoffs. Maybe you can win a potentially playoff game. We'll see how the defense looks for the Super Bowl. The defense for us winning the Super Bowl this year is going to be a lot like last year. Defense will have to carry. We're going to run the football a lot. But the thing that hurt us was once they stopped the run, once we were down a little bit, can we create some points throwing the football? And I think you get those weapons. I think you're able to throw the football and you can contend with teams. Not saying you're going to beat the Chiefs, stuff like that, passing and stuff like that, but you can contend with them. So I think, Joe Thuney, J.C. Jackson, Jonnu Smith, one of the receivers, whether it be Golladay, Will Fuller, or Emmanuel Sanders, and then you go ahead Kruger Hill. Those are my top 5 players that I think we should go ahead and sign in free agency. Let me know your list down below in the comment section. If this is post-stream and everything, and if you're in the stream right now, any other questions that you have, Ace. Hopefully I answer your questions and all that stuff. My thought process going through free agency, but just looking through this list and just looking at the cap stuff, I think we can get some guys for the cheap, especially on a 1-2 year deal. Like if we can get Will Fuller like on a 2-year deal, I think that works out perfectly for us, man. I think that works perfectly for us. Come on, camera, focus up, baby. Focus. There we go. And that works out well for us. But again, do not get Matthew Judon. Please don't pay $18 million for Matthew Judon. Please don't do that, Bill Belichick. I swear, if you do that, Bill Belichick, I'm not trying to hear it. I'm not trying to hear it. I'm selfish. I'm not trying to hear it. But yeah, there's no other questions. I'm not going to hold y'all up too much. It's 2:00. I know I was late on the stream. I apologize for that. And then you should be seeing videos this week whenever we make signings and stuff like that. So go ahead and end the stream right here. This was part 2. Part 1, be sure you check that out. I'm going to fix that for later. But yeah, catch you next time, y'all. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all coming to the stream. Peace. Be on the lookout too. Check out my Twitch dude down below in the description because within about a month or so, I'm gonna be back on live streaming Twitch, and then I might end up posting like we got stuff here. Just know gaming is coming back to the channel. Shout out to Beast Mode for coming through. We're just about to end it. We pretty much talked about it. There was a two-parter video. The first part, I pretty much talked about the news for the first month of the season, and this video was all about free agency. So you want to go ahead and check out part one. I'll put that in the description once the stream ends. But again, check out my Twitch because we'll have gaming coming back soon. So that'll be it. Peace. Thanks again, y'all.